Oh, yo, what's up, boys? Told you I was gonna be live again. Alright, sir. First time doing Just Chat. I've never done Just Chat before, so it's it's gonna be very interesting. That's all. So yeah, guys. So oh wow, I can actually wow, this is kind of cool feature. Actually, don't need Elgato and stuff. I was gonna go get like a fucking Elgato shit. Alright, there's been a lot of weirdness I was watching earlier. We might react to some videos. I just listen to music. Here, still gonna leave report, shall get into it. Um, five former Georgia police officers have been arrested and charged for alleged missing block cameras points at the Georgia Borough investigation. It's interesting. I know it's a lot of like conservatives have not become a flock. And like James Fishback, he's not a fan. He says if he's like the governor, he's gonna actually try to like change that. So let's see what Rock says about that. Rock says someone else this is not college of her rights. No, probably used a front. ALPR cameras to scan public physical license plates do not violate the Fourth Amendment license plates of vehicle movements on public roads have been wrongly been held to carry no resources for privacy. The arrests here for officers and abuse access to personal data for personal and non-law enforcement and include knowledge of Georgia's misuse of license plates and statute in their deaths of office. That's why they are being charged. The technology itself is legal and when used locally. Also, has stated that reputation does not raise legitimate privacy policy questions. This case shows how you think these programs. That's very interesting. I haven't been paying attention to that. Trump DOJ reportedly plans to send federal election monitors to poll places in three Michigan cities, Detroit, Lincoln, East Lincoln, for the August 4th election. That is actually very interesting. See, I don't want to at all. Trump to like send ICE into like polling stations for the elections and for the primaries. Will they do that? I have no idea. Like they just said so many things that they never actually happened. So I don't know if that's happening or not. I know they like this thing, fraud. They might be like saying to see if they're famous because of like fake and shit. Oh no. See if that actually happens. They always say this sort of things, but never actually happen. Since we need California, we do need like share election, like fair elections. I'm not the hugest fan for like mail-in ballots. I think the only time you should use like mail-in ballots for like in the military or you're like terminally ill, you can't leave your house. Well, I think if you're like able to drug it, people would be able to go in person. So I don't think it should take like a week. So like count ballots. Because back in the day, it would take like a day. In other countries, it takes like hours and hours. It takes like a week. It's just like it's pretty insane. It's like pretty insane. It's so Huh. There's been some mixed report protein starts to really good. I don't know. Do I think the military should be monitoring elections? No, that's kind of like the realm of the authoritarians. But or you can harbor poll watchers and act like the fucking military or like it's not the military my job to fucking monitor fucking elections. So I don't know. See if they actually have but they say Sony paint it never happened. So wait. Florida Congressman Byron Donalds is apparently like the make-believe Republican for governor of Florida. Florida Congressman Byron Donalds accused a Florida woman in a grocery store and free printed contract to do lawsuits. It's very interesting, except if you guys been looking under the rock, Graham Plattner, I'll talk about in a second. Graham Plattner obviously is been cornered to like pressured like drop out the Senate race because he's been accused of like sexual assault and rape by numerous women. All these guys got fucking neo-Nazis that got fucking Nazi tattoos of neo-Nazi. Just like a lot of women accused of rape. It's so bad that he can like a lot of I think that's a broke on Bernie Sanders. Because all the Democrats basically dropped their with decide not to endorse him anymore. But I'm not the biggest fan of this guy. He's kind of like a rhino. Even DeSantis doesn't like him. I think James Fitzpatrick is more conservative, but this guy is black and he's like Trump. So he's just part of the establishment. So will this guy drop out? I have no idea if this guy will drop out or not. So I've always been like sort of wholesale. Some that have to like find those ads, so it's hard to activists are pushing for black English being legitimized in schools. I love this music. Down to state 27. Might even have to have one of us have 10. There's been a lot the last couple of weeks. It's become a tribe, but we launched war strikes into Iran. Iran attacked 2 vessels into the strait like a couple of days ago. So I'm not that surprised. I haven't paid as much attention as much to your war because it's been so much dumb bullshit with it. You know, every time we like do a major attack, we attack them, then Trump comes, oh, we'll wipe out civilization, then they everything else. They say, no, we're gonna make a deal. We're gonna make a deal with Iran. They want to meet with us too. They want to end the world, so they're so desperate to make a deal. Then every time they finalize a ceasefire, Israel fucks it up by following Lebanon, or Iran keep attacking the strait, or Trump, gets pissed off about the strait field, and then France killed their negotiators, right? Like Jimmy Vance and Jared Kushner. They're like negotiating deal, and Trump is like making true socialists while wiping out their fucking negotiators, which pisses off the Iranians. So, this war is. This war is not going to end, guys. This feels like a quagmire. I've said many times. You can see my tweets. Trump should have never gone in. He should have stayed out in the Middle East because Saudi was going to be a quagmire. When Bush wins Afghanistan, Iraq was a fucking disaster. We were in, Iraq for 8 years, and we were in Afghanistan for 20 years, so we really accomplished nothing.
We just literally just building gas stations and schools and bridges. You know, this is super, super, super retarded. So, but also Trump fought really cool like Venezuela. He just go in and out. It's not the case in the Middle East because George Bush found out that it was not going to be this a lot harder.
Israel and Iran are too stubborn. They've hated each other for fucking centuries.
Netanyahu's goal is basically trying to wipe out every Islamic terrorist from the Middle East.
Groups in the East, he wants to expand more the Middle East. Also, Iran wants to be the dominant, the dominant group in the Middle East in that region. They basically also it's just basically wipe out Israel because they want to keep expand more their this Islamic religion over there. Israel wants to be spread Jewish and Christianity, not really Christianity, but just like Jewish propaganda. So, but why be surprised if that we'll say, oh, we're gonna make another deal? I wouldn't want to fucking that surprise. I don't expect that much. So it's just basically saying like it's been the last couple of months. Yeah, it's just
overtime and getting someone hurt. Either I'm going to win it or I'm going to lose it.
Federal judge Clark Trump Georgia County. Georgia too much election voters names. Here's the 2020 election. They're gonna let it go, man. Trump won this time. The bigger time was dude. There's never any evidence that the election was rigged. They literally went to the state a week after the election and they threw down seriously no evidence. Literally no evidence. Every time they asked Trump about evidence in 2022, he cannot answer the fucking question. So they changed the he's arresting a foreign national because they filmed multiple federal elections. Would I be surprised? No. I have to actually verify this. When DHS solution of my costs, it's some of it doesn't all. To get housing costs down by supplying more housing. It's the zoning, obviously the high property tax rate in the country. And also, there's going to see also factor COVID. Supply shortage factor COVID. That's the problem with housing. Was there some supply shortage? So, to get housing costs down, build more supply of housing, you cut property taxes, and you stop selling them to lower. Which is verified. That's from earlier.
Obviously, it was said all week. Ezekiel was not going to flood. And it was pretty clear all week that Zach Martin and Nick Myron Smith were not going to flood. Guys, I think he got hurt. He was gone, so you're down 3 starting offensive line. If you wind up letting your
It says the most effective way to lower housing price increase supply. Yes, that's what I just said. Housing versus furniture by supply and demand. The demand outpaces supply as many housing costs and high cost areas price rise at its shown. The Billboard Collins puts down downward pressure on the prices of lunch, including consistent low income units, though. Filtering vacancy change for people who have been in the units increase of more units, competition among sellers and lower prices.
Break ball. It was minor. I just kept waiting for an incredibly durable quarterback, Dak Prescott, to be in harm's way because the Giants were playing everybody on defense. They did not like the Dallas Cowboys. And they couldn't spoil their season because the season was already locked up.
Sellers leverage or price rank and they always would be reduced temperature this category. It can also play or has a trade-off.
Lower population growth, higher interest rates. Also, a lot people like moving into like across the US.
Also, states like started in the search regulation of land use to cause the price to go up. Especially like Dallas used to be more expensive because there's a lot of people that your states have bigger property tax that buildings. So long as it's selling only likes to go fan that own inside lots on its height that's enjoyed and was housing price duplexes triple just with the use rent or other side increase streamline for reduce regulations faster and more predictable provide excessive building environmental delays. This constantly constant version of buildings as publishing for small buildings. For construction office, intent is like cost coverage test that's what selling advanced measures but building bigger fragments reduce construction. Then migration adds demands. So yeah, because actually also reduce big solar property tax and also property tax to make it scale. Yeah. See, we'll see on that.
Leader of this football team, and he is the fourth quarter clutch playmaker for this football team. Not Ezekiel Elliott, this guy.
There's been so many memes about Mitch McConnell.
If you guys are Mitch McConnell, you see former Senate leader in Senate for decades. He's been in government since the 80s. Senate majority for Republicans for decades. He was one of the last established Republicans moving party. He's been at some health issues. There's been some like last year fall. He's been like chance. So good conversation. There's been big stuff that's going. It's not big deal to that. It's just great years and stuff for sure. And big change life. Computer sorry stuff. Anything else? The one change of Kevin McDowell's thing on somebody I think was high grade retail. Retail fucking age limits. There's been competence according to not mentally charged and being in the government. They love it, government, fucking boss was like dead corpses or silly government's ridiculous. Son also said that like Uncle and said favorites. She's such a retard. I fucking can't stand this show. People are just fat old horse cow in them. That's what it's sad. They're just a bunch of unmarried, born fat, drunk housewives who just want to just dumb a big show.
I take these
Seriously, he is. Yeah. Thank you for the short moves. That's what I won't do. Yeah, that was insane. I saw I need to go watch some highlights. You need to watch highlights. You guys want to. Didn't take this World Cup, sadly. We lost last night. Our ass kicked last night. You'll see your results on the that's my favorite. Japan will be the only because sounds like we're supposed to rise in the country. The Japanese are fucking idiots. He's one of the states that are grounded. California's supposed to get higher on the only reason why it's in the world because they're the biggest state in the country. There's a lot of homeless people. There's a lot of homeless to get worse. I ridiculous federal taxes, high ridiculous property taxes. Say like high gas taxes, the highest gas prices in the country. Their gas price was like $6 before we completely started. They've had a homeless issue. After these like legal areas. So frauds go rampant in the city, and a lot of big businesses are leaving California state into paying ridiculously high taxes, property taxes, and federal taxes, and then also state tax. They're both idiots. But won't be surprised if AOC full numbers does.
Shannon Jarwin. No wrong Shannon Sharpen. We've got number 89. We're winning down 89. He had 3 touchdowns.
I don't these guys because he went to Governor back to 20. Obsession. Not good. Let's go that. Secretary of Defense, VXF, whichever is field seeking black individual that. Dude, it just blows my mind that this administration is full of fucking neocon science. Bunch of dumbass neocons. There's fucking scientists, dude.
I thought they said he wanted to have a peace deal, but then trying to see if Concha did not lose obsessed with Russo. He's not in jail because he's in front against all these wars, so he's like stay in power because you know if he gets thrown out of office, he's gonna go to jail for corruption. His administration is just really wide on it's war too. But not that surprised. He's came to the White House like 7 times this trust been back.
Going back to the military commission, it's like it's Except for that, we can already distinguish Christmas from myself outside. What is the difference between what everyone's there doing with me? I told is it all bring it, or is he trying to grandpa or whatever? Is it all right? It's I'm not between one back. I'll look at all these later. I think it's on Rick's news. Everyone says it's chocolate US and 9 concrete withdrawals of these guys. The wrong progressive questions players and today. So one shirts into the wrong Israel. So much we can go to their sets and both you guys will try to know about the problem is that the government's full neocons for my terror. You guys basically funded 9/11. Let's go with it. They have fun a lot of terrorism. So they fun a lot of terrorism. All right, let's go. Let's go look at
What did Dak Prescott do? He responded.
let's go look at the usual.
Is the leader of this football team.
Let's get actually maybe something. So US is more than 80 Iran targets and on reimposed sanctions, strikes, and intelligent attack on commercial shipping consoles with Dutch Trump world leaders as the NATO summit.
The Acura MDX.
Bro.
Ever assist technology. Standard.
Visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on new vehicles.
U.S. Central Command just announced it's conducting, quote, powerful strikes against Iran, just as NATO leaders are gathering for a summit in Turkey. CNN's Kristen Holmes is there. And Kristen, this doesn't sound like any ceasefire I've ever heard of.
No, it certainly doesn't. And just a reminder, earlier in the evening, we reported that the administration had reimposed sanctions as a form of financial retaliation against Iran because of these strikes on commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz that happened yesterday. It seemed at that point that that was the only kind of retaliation that they were going to do until just about 15 minutes ago that they were launching these strikes form of retaliation for striking those vessels. Here's what they posted on X. They said, U.S. Central Command forces have begun launching a series of powerful strikes against Iran to impose heavy costs for targeting and attacking commercial shipping crude by innocent civilians in an international waterway. The U.S. strikes are in response to Iranian attacks on 3 commercial vessels that were transiting the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's demonstrated aggression was unwarranted, dangerous, and a clear violation of the ceasefire. Now, I do want to get to the NATO of it all in 1 second, but just a quick reminder that part of the deal in the memorandum of understanding for the ceasefire, the 60-day negotiating period, was that in exchange for the lifting of the sanctions as well as the removal of the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran would help the safe passage for these commercial vessels. This is the second time we've seen Iran break this. Now, I do want to just quickly note, we are now here where the President of the United States is launching these on a country that borders with Iran. It seems like somewhat of a risky move to launch these attacks while President Trump is in the region. But one thing to point out is something he said earlier when he was talking about the president of Turkey, his close friend, he called him. He said that he could have joined Iran because they are allies and that he could have fought against the United States, but he didn't. So there is a bit there of protection that he feels from the president of Turkey and the relationship that they have. And also, it might even be some sort of power flex that he is in this region and launching these strikes in Iran, which is just so close by.
All right, Kristen Holmes traveling with President Trump in Ankara, Turkey. Thank you so much. We're going to continue to follow that story.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. There's just been so many false pretenses with all this. Like every time we do like a mini attack, then Trump comes, oh, we're gonna go super construction, yes, from that line, right? He's gonna wipe them out. Then he comes on Truth Social when the market's closed. He said, all right, guys, I cancel the attacks. We're gonna go and talk. It happens every single time. You know, like my opinion is, I don't trust anybody. I don't trust us. I don't trust the world or race really, because every time we get like it's from very either these fucks out, fucks that like bombing, take a fucking weapon of it. Straight in the ear, I'm like that's just a straight to Trump, make the fucking brats a big funny people. And also, Trump is just sitting there on the negotiators. He's like, J.D. Vance, like, he's really good. Pretty quick up in here, because you're looking at and like, so it's like, channels to go talk to the RGC. He should never go in the first place. I knew this was going to fucking snack. How much is I guess so like cool things to go. It's the time thing. U.S. troops are going to the U.S. That's a good thing. Israel prior to that ruling. People for 80 targets for way too safe for the U.S. Central Command. U.S. also reinforced sanctions on Iran. Also, that's why oil's gone back up. The other ships where it's not so much ships to straight proposed rolling exposed these cards also representing the 6 shaky ground or rolling earlier during the day. It was a very crucial response to the U.S. strikes to find way to air defenses were executed in those ways. Looking back to my safety with the explosion of the island, audible cultural exports as well as in the port cities of Vancouver, very sure his perspective to discuss by U.S. President Donald Trump and other leaders as they gather in project. We have to wait and see on that. See what happens on that. So I don't know what's gonna happen, but just so much misunderstood. All this shit.
So this is why I wasn't blown away by seeing that guy in the middle of saying he is
guys, somewhat Cleveland again. Trump news Cleveland where it says NATO summit says he was Cleveland troops right here. Oh my god. Guys. I don't know if they've saturated Greenland is. I really don't. You guys remember back in early in the year, Trump was going to do those massive tariffs on Europe over Greenland. You see, he was afraid to use military force. He tried to do his back in his first when he tried to push Denmark, pressure Denmark his first one by Greenland. They said no. He keeps saying he wants to use for national security. He just wants to basically expand U.S. land. Basically, he tried to do with Canada when he first got elected. When we Canada basically the first state. Basically, just wants to be like Colombia with somebody that's like in 1700. It's just pretty insane. Yeah, I don't. This basically one of the reasons why Europe didn't want to give us, didn't want to let us use like their like naval ships. They're going to start the World War to put some of the tariffs you put last year, and also for the currency, and also we basically forcing a 5% GP into like NATO. President Donald Trump on Tuesday tried to his path as push for the U.S. to more Greenland suggested the U.S. could pull for some arms that's how Europe
In response to the comments, which continues coming back
the oil territories for the United States, Trump said. Shortly after he brought in Colonial Turkey for 3 days of it, the 18 men were placed which includes Greenland is for the crisis in January as Trump demanded the U.S. must control the island territory of national security grounds. A bilateral meeting with the Turkish president.
I can pronounce this guy's name. Erdogan is Irish. Can't pronounce Turkish names. And Ankara trying Trump fancy that Europe's refusal to go, along with expansion's desires, which hurt rivalship with NATO.
Was for the United States that Trump told it's not by chunking ships, but the ships with not going to the ships. It's not going to happen. Against the experts.
Greenland should be controlled by the United States, not by Denmark. Unlike Denmark, Trump was
And when the way for one says, was special for Russia, we don't have to spend any money. We can use soldiers in Europe. Yes, as you probably know, Europe is very interesting. Very careful, Trump would It's not really It's not only immigration, but immigration policies on immigration, which is focused on the Paris for their petitioners. The UK where it's ridiculous. They talk about their flavor native. Trump has Russ, a fast, especially publicly close arch valve and you spotlight. The U.S. president is to refrigerate at the Olympic example of the European spotlight. Trump includes claims that the U.S. needs to agreement to destroy the island. Foreign lawmakers have insisted that the island will be safe. Trump also refused to any military force the exclude claims to that last year. Back in 2024, last year. Abruptly announced in January after that he had made it Secretary General Mark Roots having forward respected a working group police said it played last night. Has to face about translation people are saying people like 50 Zelda are taking yes,
Just like Tito did
are taking nations in their minds.
Lamar is much more dangerous as a runner than Tito ever dreamed about being just as a runner.
Let's keep that in mind. Let's, put the focus on the things Americans civilians have. Yeah,
Like being honest, there's so many people that think my life trying to success literally just fucking nice. I wish I had a map that point really right there. It's just nice. Use this like a military bases or just one land base with Alaska. We opened that pipeline in Alaska. We I think successfully we suppose fix it out there. And pretty on fire. Really supposed to have a message. It's whole bullshit. No, I think it's such people embrace. It's stupid. It's so stupid. This is going to go in the news for like 2 days. This guy, Grant Flanner, if you don't know, he's a Grant Flanner, he's young, so he's running the coach, kind of like nomination. He's basically a fucking socialist, neo-Nazi rapist. He's got fucking Nazi tattoos. He denies all the Nazi tattoos. Basically endorse this guy, and now they're backing down their support guy. Bernie Sanders backing down support guy. Like no communists, that's what they were coming aside. But this guy's a general. It's ridiculous. The media's coming back. It's like Trump. I think she plays this like and they absolutely trust Bill last year. I'm not thinking she's a policy that she was wrong. But the stuff that this guy is it's all very slow. Governors and actually it was so bad every Congress. Eventually, this guy will
Tonight, the pressure is mounting on embattled Maine Democratic Senate nominee Graham Plattner, with a growing chorus of prominent Democrats he stepped down.
I think Graham Plattner needs to get out of the race,
including voters that once supported him.
Oh, tell him, nice try, buddy, but get out.
All after a former romantic partner of Plattner's accused him of rape, saying he forced himself on her 5 years ago.
Did Graham Plattner rape you?
by definition, yes. Absolutely.
Plattner denies her allegation.
Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false.
But a source familiar with his thinking telling NBC News he's still undecided about whether to step down. Even before the rape allegations, Plattner faced a slew of scandals, including online posts where he said a Purple Heart veteran who was shot by the Taliban didn't deserve to live. And Plattner had a tattoo widely recognized as a Nazi SS symbol covered up after backlash. Saying he did not know its meaning. Still, top Democrats were supporting him.
And I said to myself, that's my kind of man.
I like Graham Plattner. You like Graham Plattner.
But tonight, both Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders releasing statements saying it's time for Plattner to step aside.
Plattner has until July 13th to step down. If he does, the state Democratic Party would pick his replacement. Tom?
Welcome to the home of endless.
Very interesting. Oh, yeah, those controls.
It's the big win. Lamar Jackson gets the tough loss, and then Tom Brady how that would end the defending champion.
Smoke a cigarette through your urethra?
Look at this.
Two touchdown passes, including one in goal team.
Trump was sanctioned on Turkey back in 2020. This the Chinese going frankly with those actions. I think they basically been attacking Ukraine. So racially for the
I must have been here publicly. I spent that second game yesterday.
President Trump meeting with Turkish President Erdogan ahead of the NATO summit in Turkey. Trump says he and Erdogan have a special relationship and they'll talk about trade, the military, and Iran. When asked about selling F-35 fighter jets to Turkey, the president says it's a decision he's going to make. Let's bring in ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers there in Turkey and foreign correspondent Britt Clennett, as well as ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy. Hi to you all. So, Karen, President Trump said he may not have come to the summit if Erdogan weren't hosting it. How do you expect Trump's frustration with some of these other NATO leaders to impact this summit?
Diane, we already saw him there expressing that frustration and also lavishing praise on Turkey's President Erdogan. He again said he would not have been coming to this NATO summit if not for that strong relationship and the close ties he has with Erdogan. And he was asked about the tensions between the United States and some of those NATO allies. And we've seen that on display in recent weeks and months. The president putting pressure on NATO to get involved with the war with Iran. That did not happen. Those countries did not give in to the pressure by the president. Greenland came up there at the end of it. The president earlier this year threatening to take Greenland, and NATO countries rallying around Greenland, and of course Denmark, a NATO country. And the president there saying how the United States has been contributing so much to the NATO alliance, and that now it should be Europe who is carrying the weight of protecting the European continent. Diane, that is going to be a big focus for the president. That is what senior officials have been saying coming into this summit, and already the president making very clear that that is something he's going to be pushing those countries on. But he also has had tense relations with some of those individual leaders that he's going to be meeting with here. Notable that this first meeting, of course, with the host, Turkey's president, and tomorrow the sideline meetings he'll be having are not with European leaders, but Ukraine's President Zelensky and the Syrian President al-Shara. Diane?
Britt, how do you expect NATO leaders to respond to Trump's criticism?
Well, I think they are used to some degree of criticism when it comes to Trump's view on NATO, but they are squarely focused on trying to have a show of unity here, to show that the alliance is stronger than ever. And more broadly, NATO leaders, they are trying to use this summit to set the alliance's direction for the next decade, not just on Ukraine, although Ukraine was very much in focus there. We heard from Trump saying that Erdogan would help to resolve that war, but on defense spending, deterrence, emerging tech, China, they're talking about money, locking in higher defense spending, modernizing their forces, and making sure that a promise of an attack on one is an attack on all is still, it really means something, not just on the ground, not just on paper, but at the same time, they're widening the lens beyond Russia, looking at China, cyber threats, disinformation campaigns, even the security of things like undersea cables, energy supplies. So there's a big push on technology and industry, everything from AI and drones to simply producing enough ammunition and missiles so they're not caught short in future crises. And underneath all of that is that political goal, show unity. With domestic politics, sometimes fractured in a lot of member states, the leaders want this summit to send a clear signal that NATO can still act together, reassure frontline allies, and really keep partners confident that the alliance is not drifting or divided. So you might see them underplay a lot of that criticism.
Nick, what do you think of this possibility that the U.S. could sell Turkey F-35 fighter jets?
So, Dan, the issue there was the S-400, which is a Russian air and missile defense system, and they essentially couldn't be in the same area because one could essentially exploit the vulnerabilities of ours, which is the F-35. So there is a legal requirement that this can't happen unless things are adjusted and changed that make it acceptable. So if this goes forward, then I think they have found a way to do that. It's sensitive, but that's likely what happened because there is a specific law that deals with this.
Karen, the war in Ukraine is at the top of the agenda at this summit. How's President Trump approaching that issue going into this summit and, of course, his meeting with Zelensky there?
Yeah, this is going to be a very big focus for the NATO leaders and for the president. He's having a one-on-one meeting tomorrow with Ukraine's President Zelensky. This comes after he had a 90-minute phone call with President Putin on July 4th. The president has said repeatedly over the last several days that he believes President Putin wants to end this war. And he said yesterday in the Oval Office that he thinks that they're getting closer to ending this than people realize. But Diane, he gave no specifics to explain why he has that confidence, given what we've seen in recent days. Russia, of course, escalating its strikes on the capital of Kyiv, targeted residential buildings. Dozens of civilians now have been killed in these strikes. And overnight, we saw those Ukrainian drone strikes against Russia. So there are a lot of questions about why the president has that optimism. But tomorrow, when he sits down with Ukraine's President Zelensky, Zelensky is going to be asking for more air defense support of the United States and of European countries. He has been very clear. This is a specific ask, and he wants to come away from this summit with a firm commitment to get that support from NATO.
Karen Travers, Britt Clennett, Mick Mulroy, thank you all.
Oh my god. I've heard so many times, oh, Russia, Ukraine want to make a deal. Yeah, every time when you're doing the Trump, it's like, we're so you know, like that century. We just that to last year, and nowhere. They were turned into like a shouting match. It was the insurgent center of Reynolds Field. You know, kind of stuff in his support. I don't think we should get any more Ukraine. Fucking Muslims and Americans, not the full country. I think you're going for that. I think should go to fix the schools, hospitals, housing, fix homeless people on the streets, decorate all the streets into like versus research. No more so, we'll be right back, guys. Thanks. Sorry, guys. Oh, after with Russia and Ukraine, they're still fighting. You know, it's been almost 5 years now. Would you have accomplished anything with this? I don't think people would say started Russia. Or Turkey, I don't know. Oh, no. You know, we'll see what happens. See how things happen with that. Actually, a lot of people make things to do. I don't know. So kind of ways. We don't really have the best relationship with Turkey. So hopefully we can be good at it. We have the issue with every country. Let's see. This person is the kind of thing.
One of the top rushing attacks, so what happened that night? What happened? 65 total yards happened. Don't tell me that my team doesn't have the talent to stop the run. My team wasn't ready to stop the run. You know what I know. It's like playing do with your heart. And for some reason, none of my coaches Saturday night.
Let's say that.
So on stamina alone, she just went out of gas. I don't think it needs 1,000.
It's in this race for. We've got major developments in this race for the Senate seat in Maine. There are now growing calls for the Democrat Graham Plattner to drop out after yet another woman accused him, this time, the accusation of rape about 5 years ago. The accuser sharing the graphic details with CNN and Politico. She says Plattner showed up at her home intoxicated, forced himself on her, despite her repeatedly telling him no. Plattner denying the accusation, says his campaign is, quote, taking time to reflect on the best path forward.
Now, keep in mind, Democrats have stood by Plattner through scandal after scandal, including the original, the Nazi tattoo. But judging by the reaction, this does appear to be a breaking point. Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, and others all urging Plattner to step aside. The list keeps on growing by the hour, and the deadline to replace him is coming up fast. Alexis McAdams has much more from our New York newsroom. Hi, Alexis. Good morning.
Good morning. That's right. And the calls for Graham Plattner to drop out of Maine Senate race are just growing louder again this morning after one woman who dated Plattner, Jenny Rackacott, accused him of raping her back in 2021. She actually got on CNN last night and explained that he forced himself on her, she says, despite her repeatedly telling him to stop one night. And I want to warn you, it's graphic to watch.
So he had kind of like jumped on top of me and indicated that he had intentions that were sexual in nature. And I remember just at first being like, hey, I'm not into this. I had recognized that he wasn't listening to me. It wasn't just that he wasn't hearing me or whatnot. And then I recognized his level of intoxication. And I knew in that moment I wasn't safe.
And Plattner denies this rape allegation. As of this morning, though, he has not dropped out of the Maine Senate race, but he says he's weighing his options.
Regardless of the inaccuracy of the reporting, but mindful the political reality will inflict. We're taking the time to reflect on the best path forward. The state that I love, the people that I love, the movement I belong to, and the goal of defeating Susan Collins.
And I want to point out it's not the first time that we've heard from Rackacott. She spoke out about Plattner back in June to the New York Times, but these details were not included in that report. Why? Well, she says she hesitated because she supports Plattner's politics.
I understand why people want someone like him in office. And I felt like me coming forward would potentially take that away. And I felt really uncomfortable with the responsibility of and the weight of my story and what that might do.
This is just the latest scandal for Plattner's campaign following backlash over this chest tattoo of a Nazi symbol that he later covered up, and then also physical abuse allegations from other exes. But still, many prominent Democrats stood by Plattner's side, like Bernie Sanders and Congressman Ro Khanna, until Rackacott, who is a fellow Democrat, described this alleged rape on camera. But Senator Bernie Sanders has not called for him to drop out yet. That's something we're tracking as the numbers continue to grow. If Plattner does decide to withdraw, the clock is ticking because Democrats have less than a week to replace them on the November ballot. And who do they have? We're going to have to wait and see.
Alexis McAdams, thank you. We have much more now.
Okay, Mary Catherine Ham, MK, good morning to you. Just following up on Alexis' report. I'm going to show you a list of Democrats who are saying you should drop out now. Or on that list, notably not on that list, is Bernie Sanders. And you wonder just, does that dam break? And if so, when does it break? However, Democratic Senator Ruben Gallego, said recently about this woman, Lindsay Fifield, who came forward with these accusations in the New York Times. I don't think her politics align with Plattner's, like the current accuser. She said, mine weren't sufficiently troubling or serious for you, right? That was her response to Gallego. Why believe this charge and not the other? What's different?
Yeah, look, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure here, but I wouldn't count on Graham Plattner going quietly. He's a guy who put his wife out first to respond to allegations of his sexting scandal. So he's a pretty brazen guy. I think Bernie Sanders and he might be looking to extract some conditions with the naming of a new candidate here. We'll see what happens. They didn't believe Lindsay Fifield, who I must disclose I am personally friends with and have known that this guy was bad news for many years from having heard about her experience with him, though it happened before I knew her. They didn't believe her because she is aligned with conservative politics, which sets up a pretty bad standard, which is even if you have evidence and contemporaneous reports, it's okay for a man to hang around in D.C. for years and abuse just Republican women because their accusations can never be substantiated, ? But now that they have a liberal woman on the record, who, by the way, extremely brave to speak out in this.
I want to read all this so
But now that they have a liberal woman on the record.
October 16th of last year, resurfaced Red described himself as a communist. Yeah, mostly so-called fucking soldiers are common fucks. They're just trying to fucking destroy the country. Just blows my mind that people are fucking these idiots. But yeah, so that's your script. As a communist anti-police, spiritual ruling,
record, who, by the way, extremely.
October last year, disclosed that attack used the Nazi symbol. Yep.
Brave to speak out in this graphic way. She had told the New York Times some of this. If you read the New York.
Yeah, this guy's literally fucking shit on a Purple Heart veteran, part of Vietnam.
New York Times account.
They sing dick pics of women and pose ex-women's persons like sad behaviors when the allegation.
Mostly, you could tell that in the ellipses there was something very bad going on that night after which she cut contact with him entirely. And I think her going to Politico was partly because she saw Lindsay be attacked for having come forward, and she got ticked off that this was the response to true allegations that, by the way, show a modus operandi for this guy over 10 years of being violent behind closed doors, of crossing a bunch of boundaries in scary ways when he's drunk with women. That was the complaint. It's a through line for the two of them, and there's a third woman who also had concerns about him, who was not named in that original report.
The headlines from the New York Times back a few weeks ago. New York Times. Several women who dated Graham Plattner recall unsettling behavior. And here's a Politico one just about a month later. Woman who dated Graham Plattner says he sexually assaulted her. I listened to Politico this morning, and they were talking about what they did in order to corroborate the story. When women come forward, they have to put forward that, yes, I talked to a therapist. I talked to my friends. Here's their information. Here's their contemporaneous notes. But the big difference, as you point out, is that Lindsay was considered to be not important enough to worry about because she was partisan and she was conservative. It's pretty gross. And Ruthless co-host Josh Holmes wrote this. A guy walked into a race with a Nazi tattoo, and it was the third sexual assault allegation that concerned them. For today's Democrat Party, the problem isn't an alleged rapist. It's an alleged rapist who can't win. And perhaps that's why you have those other Democrats now saying he should pull out. But maybe Bernie Sanders thinks he still could win.
Yeah, I mean, there will be people who think he can still win. They weren't willing to abandon him over the Nazi tattoo. I had this discussion with John Favreau online a month or two ago and said, I don't know, I think a Nazi tattoo is a pretty good heuristic for a guy who is extremely bad and has bad judgment and probably pretty dumb, and he should not be running as a Senate candidate, and he refuted that. Okay, so now we have this new information, which, by the way, the New York Times was given information to corroborate some of these things and chose not to call some of those people, which then Politico did. These women they are named accusers. they have some contemporaneous notes or notes before this person became famous or was running for Senate. There are physical details that you can corroborate that these people dated or were involved. And he has an MO. I think this is a pretty credible situation, and they may start backing away now because they have just enough time to name another candidate before this goes forward.
It's kind of a funky law in the state of Maine. I don't know.
If I was a Democrat, I would be like a moderate. If they want to be Republicans,
who they want to run. Funky stuff they call democracy. MK, thanks for coming on today. We'll see what happens.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows.
That's what they need. But no, it's pretty crazy. They should wait till more rape allegations come up and realize, oh yeah, we should respond this guy. You should respond this guy day one when you get a Nazi tattoo. Disrespected veterans, like Purple veterans. He said the reason why I joined the military is I wanted to kill people. So then he said the communists and hated the police. Why would you support a guy like that? It's just pretty crazy.
I'm convinced that coconut, brainless strategy with that sword.
You think we're seeing how much money it's in you replacing a toll loser? Always a paying off him and then no piece of visual hit on him. But man, Donald wants to replace him. Yeah, he's a terrible individual. Blows my mind that people were still supporting this guy. See if there's more anything on plan or anything else.
He literally has nothing going on inside his brain.
I want to watch more about this guy.
Lock in, boys. Lock in. Lock in. Lock in, boys. Lock it in.
Josh Finches.
You hold on to that. You just hold it until he kills you.
Oh, yeah. It's just been crazy stuff with the Charlie Kirk trial. I haven't been really that much paying attention to the Charlie Kirk trial at all. It's been so shit.
Day 2 of a key hearing to lay out the evidence against Charlie Kirk's accused killer about to get underway in Utah. After Kirk's widow, Erica, and his family came face to face with him for the first time yesterday.
Wow.
We're expecting her back in court at the top of the hour as well. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino.
Good morning to you. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning at home. Graphic testimony, as you can well understand. And disturbing video on day 1. It's a 5-day preliminary hearing. It's going to happen every day this week. Erica Kirk deciding to leave the courtroom to avoid watching videos of her husband's horrific murder. When at least 2 of those videos were shown, there were only certain people who watched them, including the judge and the witness and lawyers. A former campus police officer giving testimony about video that shows a person getting into position on the roof and taking a shot, and then after that shot was fired, running away.
That same officer then describes what he found after rushing up 4 flights of stairs onto the rooftop.
To me, when I got up there and I could see this disturbance of gravel, to me it looks like a sniper pad, a person that has been laying in a prone position, and you've got markings of elbows, knees, and feet where somebody was in the line of sight of where Charlie's tent was.
So criminal defense attorney Josh Ritter's now here, Fox News contributor outside the courthouse in Provo, Utah. Top line message from you, Josh, about what you heard on day 1.
Well, I'll tell you what, it set the tone for how quickly, or rather how not so quickly, this prelim is going to proceed. We're seeing that the defense is really fighting every single piece of evidence that comes in. For every video that they wanted marked by the prosecution as an exhibit, for every picture that the prosecution tried to mark as an exhibit, the defense would stand up and launch several objections, which the judge would have a miniature hearing on. So it made for a very laborious day to hear some of this evidence admitted. But we did get some significant information. One was that sniper pad that was described by one of the officers where you could literally see where they alleged that Tyler Robinson was positioning himself before taking that shot. Some other pieces of information about just kind of the atmospherics on the day at the campus and how people reacted. Some other pieces of video and some photographs. But today we're hoping to get to more of the information that has to do with Robinson himself, text messages, the letter that he left behind, comments that he made to his roommate.
I want to play a little bit more from the lead state investigator who spoke yesterday about the first priority and a large volume there.
It kind of became organized chaos, but we did have a plan, and our priority was determining whether we had an ability or a way to be able to identify who had been involved in the shooting. We were getting a large volume of information from the general public, phone tips, people sending videos. Analysts were scrolling through social media and social sites as people were posting information onto the internet. So there was a lot of information coming in.
It's a very modern investigation because you have all sorts of different viewpoints. And I read that when the video was shown in the courtroom that the judge himself winced at it. And I'm wondering if we have any information. Did Tyler Robinson have any reaction to that video being played?
You know, the way that the cameras are positioned, you cannot see his face. You're looking at the back of his head for most of the day. But from speaking to some of the reporters that we had inside of the courtroom, he's rather expressionless. We remember times before when he's been in court, he's been seen smiling, even laughing with his attorneys. So far, at least yesterday, he's been almost without reaction to much of the testimony in court.
Josh, thank you for coming on today. We'll let you get back inside court. It'll begin again a bit later this hour on day 2. Thank you, Josh. That pretrial hearing, a painful reminder to Charlie Kirk's friends and family. Andrew Colvich become a friend of ours, executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show and Turning Point USA spokesperson. Andrew, good day to you. Dana mentioned this moment. Here is the video. I talked about at least 2 videos being shown to the witness, the defendant, the lawyers, and the judge. Here is the video when the judge finished watching some of this previously unseen video.
The robot has one job. I don't blame him. I actually flinched when I watched that.
So we, many of us reacted more dramatically than that. And here's the Kirk family statement. Every court proceeding serves as a painful reminder of his death and the loss that has irrevocably impacted our lives and the lives of his children. Andrew, you want transparency. You want the system to play out. You'll get cameras in the courtroom. I know you're not there, but watching this as a friend, how do you feel?
Yeah, it's awful, honestly. Everybody, all the team, all the staff. I talked to a lot of people yesterday just here at campus, and it was like everybody was having a terrible day. It's like we're being forced to relive this. And so it's bittersweet. We want to see justice for Charlie. We want to see transparency. We want the public to be able to see this evidence. But for us, it's reliving one of the worst days that you can imagine. And my heart is completely with Erica and Charlie's parents, Rob and Kathy, as they have to navigate what can only be described as an excruciating experience being in that courtroom. And so I think mixed emotions, Bill. It's difficult.
You mentioned Erica, of course, and this is a family statement that every court proceeding serves as a painful reminder of his death and the loss that has irrevocably impacted our lives and lives of our children. I'm sorry, Bill, you might have already read that. I guess my mind has been going back to that day on September 11th of last year, and I read that you said that you trust that justice will be done. Tell us more about that belief that it will turn out right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's what I will tell you is I've had so many countless behind-the-scenes conversations, whether that's with prosecutors that are unrelated to the case or people that just understand the way that the system's going to play out and the way this process is going to play out. And, you know, I've been told time and time again that the case here is overwhelming, that there's a ton of evidence regardless of how you look at it. And I do trust if you look at the way Judge Graff is going about this, he's very deliberate, he's very disciplined.
He's calling balls and strikes. I like some of what he does. I get frustrated at other things that he does, but I do see that everybody involved in this seems to be taking it very seriously. They're being very professional. And listen, we have a justice system that has to work, that has to be able to show, sunlight is the best disinfectant, as they said. So that's why we've always been pro putting cameras in there, pro letting as much information and evidence out into the public as possible, because we think ultimately people are going to realize, hey, the justice system worked, and we see the evidence, and listen, he's innocent until proven guilty, and that's the process we have. We're going to let it play out. But yeah, we have to trust that Charlie's going to get justice.
Right. And Erica wanted cameras in the courtroom too. Just to paraphrase, at one point she said, "This is a very public murder of my husband. I want, we should continue to show the public what happened here." It must be exceedingly difficult for her to be there.
Of course.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you to Don Jr., Brandon Tatum, Jack Kosovic. We have so many friends that are in there, and her friends and family that decided to go to Utah to be with her, both inside the courtroom and outside. I decided it was better to be here with the team, and I'm grateful for that. I don't know how I would have reacted being in that courtroom, having to breathe the same air. I just don't know, and so I'm grateful to the support that she's received, both like I said, in the courtroom, but all around the country. It's been overwhelming yesterday. I can tell you, it was really heartening in that way, just to see all the support flooding in, both for Erica and the team.
Andrew Colbert, thank you. We'll stay in touch with you as this continues.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Dana. Thank you.
Right, that was kind of interesting. Oh yeah, I think this guy deserves a fucking death penalty. It's lucky, but she fucking blew the guy's head off in front of everybody at college campus. Yeah, I really think she should get that penalty. I hope he doesn't get that penalty, because he's a fucking terrible person and should be killing people for politics. It's ridiculous. But ultimately, even if you want to grow up like Charlie Kirk, you think he's an idiot or whatever, but you shouldn't have started so hopefully he gets that penalty. Right after every person, be there, like watch the video again, maybe the same game with the guy who took your husband. I would like the guy that killed someone I do. She was great. Already, let's move on.
And they were basically praying. Don't look at the screen. Okay? What did she do? If you don't want to see it, don't look at the screen. Close your eyes. I'll tell you what. Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
She was, wow, so many gaming video.
Oh my God. All right. You good to open the door? Police officer. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I thought that
disgusting. Watch that later.
Absolutely disgusting. Clean it? No, I didn't. I threw it away. Hey, there ain't no cleaning that. There ain't no cleaning that. It is what it is. It is what it is.
That's just
I'm not gonna sit there with a fucking toothbrush and clean dog shit out of that room. No, I won't clean it. It is what it is. Fucking use a mop. I told Dave, I said, get a mop. These rooms was open down. I would say sorry for yesterday, Ray, but I'm not sorry. Literally in the slightest. Fuck everybody. There was no way of being able to receive from that.
Shit.
Whenever I go there. I said, at least if it makes you feel any better, at least you weren't cleaning shit up on the wall.
Yes, that is true. That's true. You know, Hodges dogs poop on the floor in the room, pick it up and sweep the house out.
Oh, what a joy.
What a joy.
That's what I'm reminded of. What a beautiful living world we live in.
Like a 7-year-old doesn't know what it's doing wrong. You made me think about mine gone.
Who's also like being a subject to talk politics for them, and I think books and so like some gaming stuff. It's been like to myself, so I wanted to talk about Charlie's been there figure. That's just a game. Charlie.
I'm assuming you don't have anything. No, that's right. See, I'm literally giving, I can win $1 million ideas every day. I'm giving this one away from being, you make a Roomba with a proven deck, like you're a billionaire. Time to get in the box. How about this? Roomba, an AI camera. What is she doing here? That remember
the Xbox reset situation.
We knew this day was coming, and come it did. Xbox has been in the whirlwind of a humiliation ritual laid bare before us for the better part of 6 years, I would say. Like, going strong on 6 years. They haven't been in a good spot since the Xbox One fumble, that iconic blunder. But I think it's really gotten extraordinarily bad for them when they started to overextend and gluttonously gobble up every studio they could get their grubby paws on, with the whole idea being, let's get back to our former glory the only way we know how. Games. All these studios, unlimited games, but then no games. And now we find ourselves in the present day where even with all of those studios, Xbox has produced about as much quality as my ass does. And Asha, the new CEO here, is making changes. It's a fucking bloodbath. So she has announced that there are 3,200 layoffs coming to Xbox, with 1,600 happening immediately. And over time, the remainder will also sail off into the sunset. It's rough. I feel really bad for a lot of the people that are getting laid off here. I understand that there needed to be a change, but holy shit, that is a pretty drastic swing there. And Asha did post the entire email that she had sent publicly, which I appreciate the transparency at least, so we get to take a peek behind the curtain to see what's going on. I don't think there's any surprise that there's drastic changes coming to Xbox because it's been in such a shameful, pitiful state. It's no secret. Even before Asha, Phil Spencer wasn't exactly shy about lamenting the state of Xbox. There were multiple interviews where he would just openly, publicly say, yeah, we lost the console wars. Drats. Am I right, Jiminy Christmas? Where did it all go wrong? Like, they have just, it's just been a constant cheese touch with Xbox. So now Asha's making significant changes here. I think the number of jobs that are being cut is higher than most expected. I didn't think it would be fucking 3,200. That is a substantial amount. But I was also expecting numerous studio closures. But just like my growth spurt, that shit didn't happen. Somehow there were no studios being just outright shut down, taken behind the barn. Double Fine and Compulsion are returning to their founders, so they're going to be going to independent. Ninja Theory, makers of Sinwa, who were just prominently shown at the Xbox showcase, they have been sold, as well as Undead Labs, the developers of State of Decay, which State of Decay 3 also was just showed at the Xbox showcase. They have been sold as well. And so both of these studios are going to be able to continue to operate and finish those projects under new management. And Double Fine and Compulsion going independent. So none of them got shut down. And there was another studio in limbo, Arcane, who, according to Asha's statement, the management is beginning required consultation with its work council to review potential strategic options. So they are also exploring a buyer, as I understand it. So somehow, the studios that we knew were like on the chopping block and everyone was expecting to get shut down, just fucking banished to the Shadow Realm, they made it past the Rapture, which I didn't expect at all. I don't think even God expected that. Without a doubt, this is the best possible outcome. This, might not be the fairy tale and they lived happily ever after type ending, but this is by far the best that you could have asked for out of this situation. They still get to continue their projects. They still get to continue to operate. All of the studios avoided just outright closure, no shutdown. And Xbox's statement on it is pretty solid. It does seem like they took careful consideration and worked hard to ensure that these studios get to continue to operate and exist past Xbox purgatory. Since this is an Asha statement, since 2018, we have aggressively expanded our studio portfolio while the number of games created each month across the industry now outpaces the last 10 years combined. We now find ourselves competing not only with the largest publishers, but also with smaller independent studios. It is neither possible nor desirable to own every great independent studio. We have also learned that we are not the best home for every type of studio. In a typical year, we lost 64 cents for every dollar we invested. As we reset Xbox, we will help independent creators succeed by providing open development tools and audiences to realize their vision. Just openly talking about how this strategy was a failure. This shit was a Morbius level flop from them. There was the fucking new Coke here. It didn't work. They were losing oodles of clams on it, and they recognized that they weren't even really the right home for these type of studios. It just wasn't a good fit. And Asha talks very openly about how unhealthy their business is. This shit's got the suds, man. Like, they have been limping through the games industry for almost a decade now, I would say. So Asha talks about how they're operating at margins that are 3 to 10 times lower than comparable platform and publishing businesses, and that they entered with a smaller install base and higher cost structure. Their plan was to go all in on Game Pass. Like, they bet pretty heavy. They threw the kitchen sink at Game Pass to get a lot of people on board there, to bring tons of value and get customers in the door there as part of like their core business model. And it just hasn't been delivering on the outcome they were hoping for. And now the industry facing the most severe hardware crisis in its history, she says they have to reset Xbox. Which, again, I don't think anyone out there is flying to the back of their chair. Whoa, what do you mean? That came out of nowhere. They had been in a terrible spot for a long time now. The writing's been on the wall. And in her statement, she actually mentioned something I found very interesting, saying, in some parts of the company, work passes through as many as 14 layers of management. What in tarnation? Holy shit, there's less layers to fucking Fort Knox. What the fuck? Jeepers. Our platform teams are 40% larger than they were at the start of this generation, even as our player base and playtime has declined. That complexity has slowed decisions, blurred accountability, and made it harder to deliver for players. As we reset Xbox, we will simplify. We will reduce management layers to no more than 5, and where possible 3. We will deliver success through a flatter organization that is built around makers, individual contributors focused on building, player coaches, leaders who remain deeply involved in the work while developing their teams, individuals who own key decisions and outcomes. And we will streamline how we work across our tools with a cleaner code base, shared and 50% reduced vendor spend. 14 layers of roundabout, reach around, boot scooting boogie bureaucracy that's unfathomable. No wonder fucking nothing got pooted out at any point. It seems like everything would just get stuck in that pipeline, because that is beyond convoluted and messy. I don't understand how they even let it get to that point. Like, this seems like so much mismanagement. And I've been looking at a lot of the teams that have been impacted here. We're going to go through that in a moment. But it does seem that a lot of positions that have been cut here in the initial 1,600 have been middle management positions, I believe, which, assuming this is accurate, which I imagine it is, I don't think she'd come out here and just tell a fib. I don't think she'd just go on the internet and lie here. You know, Arthur taught us that. I feel like that's pretty understandable then, to get rid of a lot of like middle management roadblocks and like unnecessary bulk and bloat here. But obviously that's not all of the job cuts here. This is an astronomical number. Like 3,200 jobs being banished to the Shadow Realm, with 1,600 getting fucking snapped away like that. It's brutal. Like, that is absolutely cutthroat. It's a fucking bloodbath. And some of the like teams that are being affected are ones I would have never thought would even be in the crosshairs, such as
Great match.
We got to keep that pressure on. And he's the
She's right. id. So 50% of id Software has reportedly been laid off as part of this, even though Doom the Dark Ages DLC is literally launching today. Doom is a still juggernaut IP for Microsoft, and id is still a beloved studio that produces games, which is the biggest shortcoming for Xbox that everyone has pointed to for the longest time. The reason Xbox has ended up as such a bad joke is because they don't have games. And when they do squeak out a game from their butt cheeks, it's something most people don't want. It's like very niche. But id Software is producing games that people want. Doom the Dark Ages isn't my favorite Doom. I didn't like it as much as Eternal nor 2016, but it was still a good game, a game that I still enjoyed and liked. I just thought it went in a direction that slowed down the fast-paced gaming that I really loved about Doom, but still a very, very solid title, and it is some people's favorite Doom. And now the team has just been fucking banished to the back rooms, like half of them just wiped out like that. I don't really get that. There are some decisions they've made I get. Like I said, like when it comes to the middle management, after learning about all like the layers that and the hoops that they're supposedly jumping through, it makes sense that would be a sector that they'd target because obviously something needed to change at Xbox. She is right. There did need to be a reset. But I also think that they're getting a little lost in the sauce here, targeting things that I think are detrimental to the direction Xbox needs to go. They need games that people actually want. id delivers those games. Why would that be in any way something that they'd look at and be like, all right, this is a blemish here. We gotta put some cream on it. Let's clear this up. Get rid of half of the fucking id Software team. I just don't think that's steering the ship in the right direction. Another one is the ESO team. The Elder Scrolls Online team apparently has been completely vaporized here. They got fucking deatomized. They took huge hits. And I recognize ESO isn't the most popular MMO on the planet, but it is still a relatively healthy MMO with a pretty strong community, and it keeps people engaged in the Xbox ecosystem. Like, everyone's chasing this white whale of live service games. You at least have one that does have a dedicated community, which is more than you could say for like the last 50 of them that have tried to spawn up, like the last 50 zits that have tried to make their way into the live service field here. You had one that I don't think was requiring a ton of resources. Like, what was really the point there? It's also one of the few things Bethesda even has in general, because Bethesda doesn't really make many games. Like one fucking game every 15 years, maybe. Last one being Snorefield, which was terrible. So you had ESO, which I think was just an easy layup to just keep going, and now I imagine it's probably going to wither and die. I don't think you're going to be able to keep an MMO alive after cutting 50% of the team that works on it. And from what I've seen, some of those were very high-level positions there. So I think this is them trying to just basically put the pillow over its head and let it go peacefully and slowly, which, again, I don't think is really going in the right direction. But good news, though, Minecraft and Candy Crush looking to be a big priority for Asha going forward. Yeehaw, that's what Xbox gamers are looking for. More Candy Crush! Yippee! Not surprising, Minecraft and mobile game slot factories are cash cows. Like, that shouldn't be a surprise, but it's still not, like, exciting to see. Anyway, though, I do think most of the problems stemmed from upper-level positions, leadership positions. Those are the jobs that I really think need to be more often the ones that are looked at first on the chopping block. Because for some reason, there's this refusal to admit the obvious. It's mainly their fucking fault. And I hate to keep using this example, and it's not even Microsoft or anything, but I think it is just such a strong example. Concord. That was a fucking terrible idea, dead on arrival. That was a just stillbirth that had no chance, and everyone knew that. But they greenlit that idea. They went hog wild on that idea, heavily invested. developers on that task. The people that actually worked on it were not the ones that pitched it. It wasn't their idea or anything. It's their job. They were tasked with working on that piece of shit. And as is so often the case, when shit like that inevitably fails, the people that made the idea and put the developers on that task, diverted all their resources to their idea, are the ones that get away without getting laid off for some reason. So that then they can continue to just snowball and just make trash after trash after trash with new developers, and the developers are always the one that bear the blame and lose their job because they just did their job of like working on that bad idea. They don't have a say-so in that. I just don't know why they keep getting away with that. So then you have people that just are a terrible idea factory, just left to run rampant, just left to their own devices, continuing to plague and infest other studios, forcing them to work on terrible projects. That's the main positions that I would be looking at first, because it doesn't matter how talented the developers are if you are forcing them to work on something that is just doomed. Like, you could take Concord and pair it with the Rockstar developers, and it would still be a complete worthless pile of trash. Like, there is just no saving the actual idea and the project that you put in front of your developers when it's that bad. And I think that's been a common trend in the industry. So the real culprit, I think, for a lot of these failures isn't just like the developers who actually coded it, it's the people at the top level, up the food chain at these studios, that made the projects and forced them to work on it in the first place. And a lot of them just get to keep doing it. Like, it's just going to continue to be a cycle that repeats itself. No matter how many developers you bring in, doesn't matter their level of talent, they can't save a bad project, a bad idea. And yet they are always the first ones, the soldiers that get cut down in the wake of all of these layoffs, while the people that are responsible for the actual projects that are fucking terrible, the ones that task these developers with working on it night and day, continue to keep doing that. And then the problem's going to keep repeating itself, and they're just so confused, like, oh, where did it all go wrong? Start looking at the upper management. The call is coming from inside the house. No matter how many developers you shit can over and over again to bring in with the same management, you're going to still keep encountering the same problems when the ideas are just bad. Again, doesn't even matter the talent level of the developers. It could be the best in the industry, and they will not salvage dead-on-arrival ideas that keep somehow squeaking it through the pipeline. Anyway, though, I'll stop yapping about it. That's really about it. Yeah.
Man. Wow. Well, my thoughts on it are pretty insane. I think the biggest issue around AAA series are really hard to massive. It's kind of like retailers of like COVID, AAA series kind of like downhill. During COVID, there's like big mass hiring with all these like little series and all these workers at home, never trying. So they just watch and shoot and play video games. If they say 100 jobs, it's going to be like right now, AAA games are taking part in the moment. I haven't really played much of these games in months. I've been playing AAA games for years, 15 years. Well, I've been streaming as well. It's like off-stream, I've been playing AAA games. Like the only AAA game I can say I've been playing is like
Christine, I didn't do anything. I feel that the conversation from Sunday should take 2 minutes, and they should always be prepared and ready to go.
Resist arrest.
Makes the simple situation worse. Kicks the backseat of the cop car.
Playing
I'm
this,
pregnant, throws items, bitch, repeats things. I'm a
I
player.
played Marathon from Marathon sucked.
And I think that
I've shown they do have police, and I am a leader, and I do have confidence.
I don't know how, but we did not actually get a bingo.
Oh yeah, but I've been playing like a lot.
We almost got a
Should
bingo.
be like games, just your stuff on the board.
I should have tasted it.
The devs don't really care about community. They act terrible anti-cheese.
Thank yourself. You took your team down with you, and you refuse
I'm kind of tired.
It's around this stuff. I mean, I was
Also,
trying
I care too
to
much
ask
about
for help earlier today, and
microtransactions. They don't really care about that. Listen to the player base either. That's the issue
entire
with like
team. I mean,
this
when we were
issue
cleaning up the
with
glass
COD.
today, I was asking for help, looking for
The big
outlets,
issue
and
why
everybody was
COD's
just like,
declined.
whatever.
Why our corporation rapidly declined. This issue with
My
like
team hates me
with
stuff.
free with Marathon and
I know I
like
can cook that
Destiny's series updates. Yeah, and also you should like commenting people running these games. Just the reason why like High Guard shut down, the reason why Marathon never really took off. The reason why that's like a slightly decent player base because they like Tim and like Peanuts and Hodge that took sponsors to let you play the game. If they didn't, the game would have never took off. Also, I have to go too. But no. But right now, right now, what's been really good is like this indie games. Indie games is what's really been a lot of people playing. I've been playing like 4 recent games. I've been playing Deadline last year. I've been playing worse with their games like FX.
OKC are not interested in healthcare. The Knicks just won the title. They're not interested in Al. And I just want to be an extra now, not foundation. This is better. He's not going to make you great. The Warriors or the Cavaliers.
Care. I heard a lot of people like during COVID, there was like a massive surplus budget, and also the concept of big razor prices due to a lot of like tariffs. So that's pretty wide doing it's kind of shame because I did. I would love to just like game for hours, but I don't want to do it. Just like for hours, I can't run like 7 8 hours. Because players just a lot of situations like it's kind of shame. I wish I could still like tags.
I can appreciate
No, he's triple
in a scoring drought. And now in his last
you see like a lot of
World
people
Cup
are
games,
playing like Souls games,
left.
replay old games, series like Jinx way back and played like Elden Ring, Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, look at Queso. Queso literally spent his entire fucking streaming career just playing like these like $5 Roblox ass type of games. It's like 60,000 viewers just go down Queso.
Their top players are better than our top players.
Let's see what she figures Queso as.
The World Cup still going strong. We're not part of it.
Just so peace. Right now, Peanut was just playing shit 3-2, but having a lot of fun playing that game.
I go to squad. I'm on it, Bunch! I'm on it!
But he does like Summit's playing he's playing a single player. It's like
let him get way older. They kind of screwed up his time frame, I think. A little bit because he's crowded. He ended up like
just checking out his
The passion is now deeply embedded in the country. And it's incremental.
Today, the plasma refused to stay contained. So I decided on a different.
You know, it's my life, it's my passion.
This graphic is the craziest thing. We have literally never won a World Cup game. It's never happened in his most matches. Not a single victory.
Best. He's doing kung fu in the dress shoes, in his church shoes.
Our first somebody chef is Randy.
Just team streamers. Team streamers, man. They're so annoying. I like to show that to my
Second nobody
fans.
chef is
relatively calm, cool, collected, with big celebrations, no doubt. But they didn't battle.
See, Counter-Strike.
Randy, Adam, step forward.
Right now, Fears reason why it's got 34,000 boosters.
Iron rank, top. You know what?
Because of
As
peanuts.
I listen to you,
has
as
been
someone
a
else.
success.
Expedition for free dollars a great game. I said it was late, but I came out last year. It was a single player game. It won game of the year. With the same version. I can't get this scam. Of course, they college played. Pushing up like basically like Mark someone at a grocery store. Someone tried it.
Absolutely, chef.
That part
Just like a red bullshit.
It was just an epic meltdown. I have not eaten
we
that. I
started,
worked with you and worked for myself, chef.
when we were in Miami, in a place where the green, like you're out the world, come pouring sweat.
You know, like pictures, like swag, and someone else is role playing, and just takes coming
that this round has been last night compared to the previous dozen rounds. We were competitive.
He's got the most figures out of the
Of the teams who could have played this round, they would have been one of our top drafts. And they got crushed. And so that part to me doesn't feel like a success.
Yeah, man, you sang the kitchen, and the biggest disappointment is that you were not bouncing back. Thank you for the opportunity.
I don't hate this, right?
But it's also sad. It's also
nice.
Working top right. Looking sick. Big hop. Stick really low, actually.
It was just one of those things where you get caught in that quicksand. Rapid Chef Ramsey expected more of me. I expected more of myself. Unfortunately,
I'm okay.
this is where I am here.
How far one? Okay.
Like, honestly, it's kind of really challenging because it's looking midnight, so like all the shooters stupid. So, this all the games also just a single player game that just recently just came out. Like Hutch was playing this. Strat was playing this. I think Summit was playing this too. So it's it's basically an RPG style game.
You missed
This game like sunk. It's one's got guns in there. It's because it's similar to Perfect. So because it's not.
with regard to the moments and the expectations.
Well, wait,
They met the moment against Bosnia. They didn't meet the moment now.
I'm very disappointed with House Kitchen. I don't think that was the worst shot. My friend was competition. We were going to play fingers, and I definitely was the card. It was a great experience for me. I've learned so much from Chef Ramsey. I'm just one star chef trying my dishes on a daily basis.
Because of
I
how they
feel like
operated,
I'm
the humility they
50 times better of a chef after coming
the
here.
way that they played throughout the
Used to be
stretch, and
okay.
good show up.
Food you
Have a start to the game
curious
like they did
guys.
against Belgium. You never ever give yourself First a somebody chance. is Randy. 30 seconds into the game,
Randy
searching out Dest was shielding a ball away from a U.S. player that actually came off the U.S. player that went over a Belgian drum. And then that first draw was a microcosm of the entire game. All up on the air. 3-4 U.S. players around it that could have attacked it and headed it out. And it's like, well, is it your ball?
This
My
guy's
ball?
based
And the Belgian player just runs
right in
right
this
through it.
part.
This is completely unacceptable. This is all of it. All 4 players involved in this play. 9 minutes into a game to allow a good team like Belgium.
Roaches love our messy cooking.
That's why they in town.
But they hate them.
This is all I have. I try every night to make sure my team is successful. You have cooks, you have line cooks, and you have Susie Homemaker chef, and I am the chef. For us to sit up here yesterday
and talk about
Maybe behind you, Chef.
Belgium. Like we should be with
I don't think Nick has the kids.
We're beating them. I mean, it'll be a disaster if we lose.
They're going to trail there.
We lost to a better team. We did as far as we should have gone. We beat a
Our
bunch of
careers
young
is
teams.
falling off.
And we thought we were all that. We had
I saw like peanuts in college. Like TV
But I'm not buying
for a little bit there. They're probably the 31 section. But right now it's just like city that I didn't see. But I just lost interest in watching the
You are put in, you have to make decisions a lot faster than you have before. You're put in positions that you haven't been in before. Or certainly in the past. And that's what teams.
So yeah, it's just kind of a shame that this game just fall off. This game hasn't been out for a year yet. It should come out in October. And the game which is
Run it back.
Probably like March, April.
Run it back.
They love the anti-cheat. They went the wars around. Like they work the anti-cheat. There's two races, constant. And you're seeing
At least it's a tax write-off. Yeah, you're not wrong about that. Yeah, guys, we're gonna go grab. I'm gonna go grab those two ram sticks tomorrow. And it should solve.
When you couple that with our age in the back, as I saw in the friendly against Germany, and I saw it immediately with Belgium. Listen, our flaw got exposed. Where do you get the next great Brad Freeman?
I don't know this.
Where do you get the next great goal?
This kind of ass.
Well, the big pressure, like when you have the technical goods, you've got to go to the best league. So if you're a basketball player and you're playing in Europe and you're good enough, you come to the NBA.
Let's just watch
Well,
this
if you're a goalkeeper
right
and playing in MLS, you need to go to one of the top European leagues. Because that's where you learn. That's where you learn.
Yes, sir. I was drinking this a lot. Years big tournament majors like like game on Twitch is not insane. It's huge going down. Oh yeah, NCAA's it's super complicated thing. Yeah, honestly, I've been loving that. I haven't played it like a week. Those new ones. Actually, pretty solid. That's cool to just watching. Has been played it for like a week. I always see these guys against computers on the game, so just watch it for the 2 weeks. I'm probably like at level 16. I already got past the it took me for
Its affordability, everything
really coaches. Kind of look like production people are just
United States, Belgium, and March, there is overtime. I tend to think it's an advantage, not only playing in Seattle, but
I can't afford it. There's a number of things.
clutch sports for
I'm gonna go get every school great sex. That's what's all fun play at the answers all cool. You guys ask for nice. I'll hit a little bit of pick up and stream it in the well,
But all of this has to happen by corruption. Second, third, or first class corporations. So we're politicians. We can't actually enact these solutions.
Tim's a fucking beast, man. This guy's trying to like tolerate this guy.
Begin tonight. That's United States Senator. I will run through anyone.
Not going to get anything.
My bill to
I didn't like that because I had like people say that
trying to pitch me for paid speeches. And unlike my opponent, I'm not running a camera. Instead, my head is down doing the work for the people of Michigan.
Yeah, it should be like ranked on every fucking highest ranked every
work to be done. We do not need a celebrity. We need a workforce. And as the most effective lawmaker for Michigan
I'm gonna take under.
representatives, if you want a fighter and an effective leader for our
I'll be Irish every kid is the only to get one of the best agents for
Then brought to you by corporate taxes trying to buy a politician who's going to do their bidding instead of yours. I've been a steward of politics for far too long. The question is not you are now down believers, and for too long,
transparency is also important, and this is why I have released my tax returns. My opponent of trading said that transparency is key, but yet he has not released his tax returns. About getting money out of politics and putting money in people's pockets. Who is putting money in your pocket? What
I'm trying to get it.
have been negotiating pussies. Like, oh man, you were getting cooked on the internet. I'm like, the United States military has launched a series of what they call powerful strikes after commercial ships were struck in the Strait of Hormuz. The question is, what should our policy be going forward with Iran?
Well, our next United States Senator has one goal and one mission only, and that was to fight for the people of Michigan and represent the people of Michigan. Donald Trump selling us out to this war in Iran, no one is raising it on every Michigander is totally unacceptable. But here's the deal. In terms of in the United States House of Representatives and what I will work for in the United States Senate, we need long-term peace. Donald Trump has failed us. The Prime Minister of Israel has failed in that regard. And he was just coming after me on this today. I am proud of Michigan. You are my superstar.
With Domino's best deal ever, you can get
any size pizza, any toppings
for only $9.99.
Say less, but wait, there's more. They added
Stuffed crust.
That's the move. The best deal ever just got even better at
And so long as the politicians continue
Oh,
to say,
yeah.
I'm not surprised when we find the wars that we did in Israel,
You better believe it.
genocide in Gaza.
Well, I was thinking that was
You better believe
the
it.
GOP is spending thousands of dollars to prop
Oh,
up your
buddy,
campaign
old
because
pal.
they think they will make it easier for Mike Ryan to win if you are
Gotta
nominated.
pop up.
I do not plan to make anything easier for Republicans. What I do is I take up both voters.
You'll be spending money on me. Guess who's also spending money on me?
Rogers wins. Either way, Israel AIPAC is perfectly fine with either of my two opponents because they know that they will have a comfortable, reliable in the US. If you want politics to rebuild your schools or fix your infrastructure or to invest in your healthcare, you have an alternative choice. You want to get money out of politics to money in your pocket past Medicare for all. There's a reason that Donald Trump for us sitting on the inside of the US Senate because it's set to politics as
Oh,
you
what's fucking
Moving on to staying in the Middle East, despite his ceasefire, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues and Israel maintains that eliminating Hamas remains essential to its security. What, if any, is the role of the United States in trying to resolve this long-standing impasse? 60 seconds.
I'll tell you this, for a while, every president has said that they believe in a two-state solution. The problem is that our policy has been to subsidize the
for some reason, I don't know. I think he's always like good. I guess because the new movie came out, I think he told the story for
funding the Israeli military collateral blank checks. That also includes Egypt. That includes Saudi Arabia.
I don't know.
I also believe that we cannot continue to sell weapons to a country that is doing human rights abuses, genocide, and apartheid. I also believe that we stop running cover for what has become a rogue state that is now trying to annex southern Lebanon. And I also believe that your money needs to be spent here. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate losers are you and me, the taxpayers who paid that money to provide good infrastructure, build schools, provide healthcare for our own kids, not to watch it get sent to buy bombs and tanks that end up annihilating other people in their
The goal has to be long-term peace, and this is what I have long worked for. I stood alongside families who had relatives taken hostage by Hamas, and I called for a permanent ceasefire. The difference between my opponent and myself on this issue is that I believe in a two-state solution. I think that Israel has a right to peacefully exist alongside the people of Palestine in Gaza. It is very clear that Mr. Netanyahu has not been us safer, has not brought us closer to peace, and has endangered Jews here in America and around the world. This is why he was just trashing me today on CNN. I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to say
no medical devices and also fucking what an idiot.
I believe in people rights to peace, dignity, and self-determination.
Deficit beyond close stretch and nobody how.
But the question I think is
I don't
Oh my God, he's a disaster. Oh my God, it's 100%.
What I did when I served as chief of staff of the U.S. Auto Rescue saving 200,000 Michigan jobs, and what I have done to get the chips and signs and gas and sign into law. What my opponent needs to
Listen, we should vote for guys like Abdul El Sayed in Michigan. I'm beginning to wonder if we shouldn't trust any of their endorsements.
Well, listen, I don't blame you for feeling that way, but just don't sit here and act innocent, Will Kane. I mean, I'm on vacation and all of this stuff. It's good to see my man. I haven't seen you in a while. But you know me, I'm not going to let you sit here and do this one-sided reporting that you're doing right there. When you're talking about the Democrats, I'm not here to defend them. I can't defend that soundbite from Elizabeth Warren. She got to defend that. I can't defend Bernie Sanders defending him. He's got to do that. I can't defend any of the Democrats for sitting up there and defending this man, considering the Nazi tattoo. That should have been enough, personally. Let me be very, very clear, but especially in light of the allegations that came in the aftermath. I mean, my God, what took you so long? So certainly they can't be defended. But Will Kane is not going to sit here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time and act like the Republicans haven't tried to defend people in the past. Don't get me started with Roy Moore, the Senate candidate out of Alabama in 2016. Don't get me started with your president and a myriad of allegations that he absolutely positively swore were false. But nevertheless, there were a bevy of allegations against him, not even to mention the conviction counts. We all know a lot of people believe that was politicized. Don't get me started with the fact that Al Franken, who was a Democrat, was defended by some of the Republicans who felt he shouldn't have resigned. So let's not sit here and act like we're going to point at this one party and say them. You are absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head in the end, Will King, when you say this. It's about power, capturing it and maintaining it. Anything that positions the party to gain power, in all likelihood, they will do on both sides of the aisle. Not you. I'm not talking about you.
Okay. No, it's fine. It's fair play. It's fair play. But to the accusation of hypocrisy, what I would suggest is this. We've well litigated the issues one by one when it comes to President Donald Trump. The issue is the Democrats have told us now for years, Stephen A., that they are the moral high ground, that believe all women, that they are the ones holding us back to our oh-so-valued norms. And yet here now, they sold them all out in one candidate. With one candidate, they showed us that was nothing but a posture. It was fake. It was all embodied in one man with a Nazi tattoo on his chest. And yes, politics is about power. But what we learned here with Democrats is they're perfectly willing to be absolute frauds in pursuit of that power.
Wow. I mean, my goodness, you gonna fall like a chair with y'all? I mean, you know, this is how they do. I mean, there's no question about it. You're right. I'm just saying the same thing that you could say about them, you could say about the other side. I'm not getting into the veracity of the accusations and allegations that have been thrown at our president or anybody else. I'm simply pointing to what this story is about. This story is about allegations, accusations, him categorically denying it, but us saying those allegations alone are serious enough for Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and others to have reached the conclusion that he should step aside and
I think the point there, Stephen A., is they should have gotten there sooner. That's right. That's right. By the way, can we agree? Let's just continue this good spirit agreement. When it was exposed that he had a Nazi tattoo, that should have been enough for Bernie Sanders.
For me, right there. It should have been enough right there. It should have been, especially the way that they were policing us as a society under the Biden administration. You damn right it should have been enough, without question. So there's some inconsistency and hypocrisy on that point. No question. I'm not here to defend that. Again, I'm just saying, you're talking to me now. I know you. Don't think that you're going to come on the air at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon and get away with trying to point to one side when I can point to the other doing the exact same damn thing. You know better. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know about the exact same.
No, they're well versed. See, there's right that the Democrats can't play the ball high ground. You know, they literally there's much introverts you can go on. Like MAGA people and those Trump's Nazis and fascists because they were still in the guy that was firing Nazis. They could go around Trump's a rapist, he raped a bunch of women for the basis for the benefit. The Trump was accused by a bunch of women for rape. All they just wanted to do is they just wanted to take the Senate and basically Trump. They tried to hold Trump hostage. Power. One of these people wanted power on both sides. And Trump wants power the Democrats want better. It's always they will never ever work together. But yeah, I hope Maine actually gets a better guy. This guy is a fucking idiot. Continuing to take my away. Man, I never got the GTA long enough because, you know, their time deprivation just fall free. College war plays that. I played it in the Game Boy. 7, 8, years war. I remember this game.
But the reality is,
I will run through anything and anyone to deliver for work. We've got to lower the cost. Look, there are many who want to run through about Washington, D.C. insider deals and what's going on with our party leadership. Friends, this is about the future of this year. Here is going to be the workforce. Look, I've got the results. I have passed big pieces of legislation. I passed my first bill to secure STEM grants for our K-12 schools in my first year in Congress. I am
This function is so rigged, it's not funny.
for our schools, for our educators, and
I
stands
can't
up
prove it,
to the
of course. Nobody can actually just prove it, but it's so rigged, it's not funny.
I feel like that
Donald Trump. If you want to stop Trump,
I'm because oh yeah, a weird gambler or if you sports bet on soccer, you know that it's so rigged. It's not. It's just sad. It's sad, and the game is ruined because of it. So fuck this. But I don't care. So you become a true man when you realize that it's all rigged, but you still enjoy it. So the curve goes like this. Nothing is rigged. It's all rigged. I hate it. It's all rigged anyway. Who cares? I'm enjoying it anyway. You're a small boy if you think that nothing is rigged. And you become a man the minute you realize that it's all rigged.
The most effective lawmaker for
this summer is so rigged, it's not funny. It's
get a good tweet out.
Yeah, I can't prove it. Of course, nobody can actually just prove it. But it's so rigged, it's not funny. Like.
Are untrue.
Oh yeah.
She's been very definitely. I think it's been like that. You know, some express have been bad, especially one with politics.
Is this race not only
God, he's dipshit. He's sorry the nice voice of Graham Platt in the past says dipshit. That's what I'm going to watch this fucking dipshit, Joey.
Especially who's, day one, was a day one. I'm not with this shit. Big shout out to a lot of the Hasanabihis who were skeptical on the Plattner tip. No shout outs to the fucking third worldists who were up my asshole being like every troop should be murdered.
It's so funny how this fucking idiot constantly talking about conservatives being Nazis and fascists, but this guy legit he's such a fucking hypocrite. He's such a this guy legit is about fucking how big the reason would catch all the those guys the fucking which actual like common shit so it sounds a bit
obviously we can have reasonable disagreements, and it's important to understand what we identified as support versus what degree of support. Turns out Plattner was a little too on brand for appealing to the hogs. Yeah, even the Chapo guys weren't high on him. It doesn't matter. They've been literally saying that me and the Chapo guys were like the #1 defenders of Graham Plattner, and that we endorsed them and we were unbelievably supportive of Graham Plattner. People do this like weird Mott and Bailey where they go, well, there was some reasonable disagreements in chat with you, and not like me yelling at the people who were like, every person who's been a troop at any point in their lives deserves the death penalty. Okay? You're creating a non-existent person? Oh, come on. Come on, brother. That's not a straw man. It's like, under normal circumstances, I like embellishing and I like exaggerating because I'm supposed to be someone who's an entertaining figure. This is the one instance where there is a very specific tendency in this community, a very specific slant. Because, like, look, Dylan Saba, who is my friend, who was very critical of Graham Plattner and kept repeatedly saying over and over again, this guy's a fucking Blackwater mercenary from 2018. Of course he's got fucking major red flags. I don't know what the fuck people are saying. I agree with him. I respect his position. I agree with him. I agree with the red flags myself. But for me, as far as like a potential for a broader coalition, as far as pushing for a less populist that I did not think had this many irredeemable qualities. Let's be real, you know. It was fine to hedge for me to say, hey, look, it's out of my hands, as I did back then. It's out of my hands. If the people of Maine like them, the people of Maine like them. But the problem is, I also shared that same level of skepticism, but it wasn't enough for me to just like come out and be like, fuck Graham Plattner, fuck Bernie Sanders, fuck the entire broad left populist movement. They're all a bunch of Zionists, okay? And no, it wasn't obvious that he would be a rapist either, okay? That's the difference. And now that we have evidence that he is, it's over. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Because it's not like I didn't hedge. It's not like I didn't fucking. It's not like I came out of the gate swinging and was like, he's the greatest thing that has ever happened. He's the face of this movement. He's the best guy of all time. Like, there are varying degrees of support that I offer certain candidates. Graham Plattner didn't get any of that, with the exception of whenever people would come and tell me that Janet Mills or Susan Collins would be an acceptable substitute, I said, no, I don't think that's the case with the evidence that I had, with the information that I had at the time. And when new information comes in, we change our perspective. Like you've been blazing Plattner for months. If there is no difference in my commentary on Graham Plattner versus what I've said and what I've done for Daria Liza, Chris Rabb, Claire Valdez, Adam Hamawi, Abdul Al Sayed, why have I been doing any of this? Why have I been doing any of this? You hedge, but come on, man. But like, why have I been doing any of this shit? Did you see the same level of excitement, the same level of support that any number of different people received? Or was it just me arguing against chatters like yourself that would sometimes make very stupid comparisons? Like, oh, well, why not Kamala Harris then? What did I tell you? If Kamala Harris had the same platform as Graham Plattner, she would have won, okay? And yes, I would have fucking door knocked for her. Like I said, if Kamala Harris came out swinging against Israel's genocide, what did I tell you? I was like, it's too significant of a race to just fucking ignore. I think you didn't go as hard on him as the same reason people get scammed because you wanted it to be true. Of course I wanted him to be the base, like, commie former veteran that is like anti-imperialist, but he's like hiding his fucking
Dude, so I don't know. Dude. Okay, this would you make that this one
it was awful to see. ICE is not about immigration. ICE is not about solution. I was on the nearly the border. ICE is about paramilitary force. I've been clear that you can't reform ICE. You can't retrain ICE. You have to abolish ICE. Now, that's not to say that we can't sustain our border. That's not to say that we can't actually enforce our immigration policy. It's to say that we shouldn't do it at the edge of destroying our constitution. ICE has no agency. It is younger than I am. We have done this in the past in a way that respects the basic rule of law. If we're serious about actually having a pathway in this country to a humane, thoughtful, common sense immigration system, we've got to invest in order to show that offers a pathway to citizenship for people.
She was going to say fucking
Legitimately somebody who can contribute to our society. I think that's our responsibility. That's your responsibility.
Before I jump to the bipartisan border security bill that I do support, it must be said very clearly that Donald Trump's ICE is completely out of control and it is an abuse of power. From top to bottom, committed crimes have to be held accountable, and I've got the legislation to do it. I called on Christie Nome to go. She was removed, but no reforms took place. They took $70 billion slush fund. The terror in my district was blown up. What ICE that stood up to the state and local law enforcement. That money needs to be redirected to those law enforcement agencies that are responsible for our safety and security. Donald Trump is abusing his power. He's manipulating people, and we need change.
Like one thing, people that run into jail to teach their position, like their ass with American and they're like, oh, yeah, she is like chair that that's very different than what we're hearing now. I've been deeply clear. I don't take money from corporations. I don't take money from ICE contractors. Which is why I can say with a clear voice, we need to abolish ICE. I think we need clarity about where folks' money comes from and what trades they make on the policy on the back end to bob and weave on these issues when these are issues of life and death.
30 seconds to wrap up.
Well, it's really unfortunate yet again to see my opponent pursuing Republican tactics. There was a bill on the House floor to condemn an anti-Semitic terrorist attack that involved that killed an individual and injured a Holocaust survivor. Instead of bringing us together, it's making a simple point about thinking ICE. I've always been a speaker to violence, and I just wish my opponent wouldn't pursue this simple approach of Republicans here in Michigan and across this country. And in fact, I was on the phone with the daycare centers and the families who COVID fighting to secure dollars to make sure the daycare centers and the people who work in them stay open and restored. Look, the costs continue to go up.
The whole
thing
is
the lower daycare costs are through the expansion of CDBG funding and grants that match what the governor here in Michigan did. I actually went to a daycare center with her in Detroit, Michigan to celebrate the programs that she put into place. And the other deal that we need is we need paid family leave. I'm a champion for paid family leave. We need to secure the ability for new mothers and fathers to have that precious time with their newborns. That's another critical step. I'm off the record.
So funny if you want it out, sneaking
it's forcing matters out of Messi is one of the best holding them behind lucrative opportunities that they use to enrich the family. I got kids to make sure they're free. Cheated, guys from the country. We pay for that by taxes and the ones there. We could render $4.6 million if we were really very, very tax one as well.
This is not that difficult. It's a function of our values. And we care enough to make sure that women have access to the workplace, that children have a safe, healthy place to go. Or would we rather be the kind of company that allows billionaires to make a second billion, a third billion, a trillion maybe like Elon Musk? And that is the question we need to answer. And ultimately, it's allow billionaires and corporations to buy politicians who are going to give them a shit. 30 seconds.
This Senate seat is considered a toss-up for November. It's 50-50 chance that it will go Democrat or Republican. The one thing that I do
Such a
is Republican, blue, and
really
green.
is worried about
Held
like
it
the
with
whole
Donald Trump was on the ballot. Living the values to be changed and improve people's lives. Mike Rogers, he's not going to do a thing to impact childcare in the community.
Such a retard. I can't stand her. She's such a fucking schizophrenic. Seagulls are fucking piece of crap. It's not fucking, it's a lot of terrorists. Come on. It's like, it's so stupid.
For healthcare that's guaranteed, for an economy that works for working people, for finally getting corporate money out of our politics.
But with all due respect, he looks a lot like Mike Rogers and I.
Such a fucking retard. I can't stand this person. Like, literally, Eric Daughtry, my son, Tom Clancy, Ben Johnson, and actually the Bait. Format, television's doing the biggest fucking classic because they were bored.
My opponent wants to make this case about violence and
They put that's where politics are turned to bias, propaganda. We don't look at the facts anymore. We don't like signs of reaction bullshit.
And I get 15 units standing alongside me in this fight and some other proven individuals as well. So can we stop the lies? Can we get the transparency out there? My opponents all talked about.
Game theory, looks like a photo shit like this.
United Democratic Progressives, airline tickets for my opponent, for her mother, and herself to go to Portugal. I don't know what they talked about. I don't know what they did. So we're talking about the lies. I think it's really important for us to understand who's paying for them and what was said on the back end to allow them to $3. It doesn't come free. So is the Jeep
if I had the chance,
we're talking about things. I'm going to give you a commercial. So the question is, are we better off to have some of those senators here, or could they be actively opposed to saying, by many citizens in meeting after meeting across the state and its first change 67? Look, right now, these gigantic data centers put in the backyards of people like Mike Rogers who are videos about how bullshit they are. I think we have to be serious about the fact that these things are dangerous. And the people who are pushing them are the richest, most powerful corporate CEOs in the country. And so we look forward to terms of engagement. We want to make sure that if we want to put waste out anywhere, that it's going to meet the following terms. All of raising our utility rates, increasing our utility reliability, not touching our water, and then there has to be a community benefits agreement that's negotiated in good faith, all money put in escrow, and this has to be fully enforceable, shutting down the data center. That has to be passed at the federal level. Here's the thing: big AI has huge super PACs that guess who they're funding. And so the question for us is: are we willing to actually do like corporations can log your name's monkey?
innovation in data centers. And it is up to federal lawmakers to secure the tax code so that these billionaire enterprises are paying their fair share. It is unacceptable that rates
This is not the end. That, to me, that's always the story about Washington, Tel Aviv, and Tehran, is that it's not over until it's over. Last year, after Midnight Hammer, everybody said, well, hey, no harm, no foul. We did one airstrike. That's how it should be done. We got in, we got out, end of story. And if there's anything to know about Iran, is that it's never the end. We thought it was the end when Israel provoked Iran in Syria in April of 24. We thought it was the end in October 24 when Iran retaliated against Israel for their strike in Iran in July. We thought it was over in September 2025 when Israel did that assassination strike in Qatar. No, we always think it's over in this whole thing. The ceasefire in Gaza, the ceasefire in Lebanon, the ceasefires with Iran, it's not over until it's over, until those fundamental root causes that are driving this escalation, driving the conflict are solved. And I think that what we effectively did with Midnight Hammer is we put ourselves on a pathway that inevitably leads to a decisive confrontation. And by decisive, I mean one side is going to lose badly. Either Iran's regime will fall, or the United States will be dealt such a devastating blow, militarily or economically, that we have to leave. Maybe that means the regime with the Trump administration. Maybe it goes on until 28 and a new president's elected on a promise of ending the war. I mean, but in some way, shape, or form, something's got to give here, and it's going to be with some finality. Because from a strategic point of view, we're not going to let Iran have this nuclear stockpile, have a nuclear enrichment capability, have this native drone and missile capability, and we have no say, no check, no ability to enforce an agreement, no ability to trim the grass, intervene if it gets out of hand, especially not now when the regime is absolutely defiant and dug in and resilient and in many ways vengeful and furious about what happened. So we can't let them alone, and they can't leave us alone. They need to stick it to us so we don't try this again.
I passed my first grade. All right. I have supported resources to invest and protect in the privacy for consumers and to stand up for the little guy, particularly small businesses. Equitable investment, Black-owned businesses, like ones I visit on the regular, who oftentimes are getting destroyed into the stick, and they certainly are from Donald Trump. I want to make sure that resources are coming into our communities and that jobs are protected and maintained. We can do this here in Michigan. We just need leadership, and I believe that is needed.
Do we need to regulate it?
Absolutely.
First, I just want to but I also want to speak to the fact that we do need to regulate AI. And so long as we the parties taking money from the AI industry, it's not likely to happen. I propose a plan putting AI under business. That means that AI corporations are spun off as public interest corporations. And that at least 50% of the Congress are publicly appointed in the democratic process. I also want real AI guardrails on what AI can and can't do I take agency numbers like an FDA for AI.
Everyone else does.
And
Like
I want to make
vacation,
sure that
understanding
I can say all this because I'm not bought off
based on
by the
skill
companies. You talked about that 2020 regulation. That
and
was
technique
appealed
and
to the AI industry. So yes, if you want somebody who's really effective in ways to the AI industry, you have the opportunity.
Well, I'm pleased that I read my deepfake bill to better detect the use of AI, particularly with our children. It was written alongside the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and I'm proud that that passed.
His response would be, there are organizations everywhere, and we have no control over it.
If PlayStation is for PlayStation, this will be paid to sport at the Beats 5. This is 2020. I should. I always look at it. As soon as I play on the digital PC, which I always write it
This next question is many of the viewers do as well. The national
They say Messi is small. They say Messi is only 7.5 inches. Do you know how small that is?
Now, the interest on that does say like how small 7 inches is 2036. It'll be about $2 billion. So you're going to be about 25%.
That's why he don't have to use one. It's good comedy. Yeah. I don't know what he could play other than soccer. He out there with a glove. He out there with I don't know what type of glove he gonna have. A kid's glove for real.
If he drops out, he's all it's good.
And just when you think he's done, just when you think you can never count that joker out, he caught that ball. Nice right there, man. Then the only place you can put it to get in the goal, to go in. Yeah, he kicked that thing so fast and so hard, Ocho. I'm like, ain't no way this man got to be praying. This is praying, man. Ain't no way. You see how much that game meant to him after that game, he was crying.
The stream.
Yeah,
which I think everybody also, like Kaepernick, so straight again,
they have now, and when they hit over, you gotta get that here. Yeah, come on, man. They really supposed to be down 3 nights. I ain't gonna say that. I ain't gonna say that.
Really enjoyed this.
Yeah, they really supposed to. Hey, that second goal by Egypt after they took that one. Yeah, he came back. That was a FU goal, like. But they had to take his shirt off on that second when they took it back. He came right back. I saw, They said Argentina finna go down. Even Breeze said, "Hey man, this my top 28 pro. Man, being down 2 goals in the seventh.
I agree for them.
Nah, it's top 10.
She's such a great athlete. She's just very toxic. What the fuck? She just had this haircut. I don't know.
I think Braden was down 28-3 with 306, 3 minutes, almost a little over 3 minutes left in the third. So they had about 18 minutes. So if you look at it, what they did is they had 11 minutes left to make it 90, and the stoppage time, so they had about 5 minutes, and they had 14, 15 minutes with 2 goal deficit. Outside of the Spurs in this finals, I ain't saying
I'm glad you're okay. Looks like it's going to come around some other path. Get away from those bridges as soon as you can. The jungle will make for better cover.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta go back. The Colts? No, Minnesota. Who had the lead with 31-0 over the Colts? Wait, 31-0? 30 something.
If you're a teacher,
That was 2 years ago. Minnesota come back and beat somebody like that. 31, huh? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Chad, who was that? Who had that lead like that? Was that Indy beat Minnesota or Minnesota beat Indy?
That must be Chick-fil-A.
This is a regular season game?
Bro, I think you should go back to the
Colts was 33-0. Yes.
I didn't watch this.
33-0. Buffalo came back in the playoffs against
yesterday.
against the Houston, the Warriors.
Can't fly cash cards on your
Yes. We talked about it.
I don't think we should be spying on American citizens.
But and I tell people, it's easier to play from behind and come from behind as opposed to get a lead and try to hold on to it. Because you get conservative. Because what happens is that you're like, man, why you stop doing it? Why you stop doing it? Because I'm trying to lead the clock. I don't want to stop the clock. And I don't want to give them any, I don't want to give them any scooping scores. Because every time I drop back, I subject my quarterback to get strip sacked. I subject him to get a ball tipped, carry him, and it gets picked. So I'm trying to do everything I possibly can to keep us out of that situation. So you start to play extra conscious. I get to get extra aggressive because I'm already down. Don't give a damn. I got nothing to lose. Yep. Absolutely. You got everything to lose. You're supposed to win. Like I say, oh, Joe, that's why you said 33-0. 33-0. You're supposed to win the game. I don't give a damn what happens. Damn.
Who's going to crash out while it's
Not today's game. Not today's game, fellas. Not the way it's played. It's just like basketball. It's easy to come back now.
Who should see that too, man?
And everybody shoots so well. You only have like a handful of guys. Right now, you got a team. Two or three guys can get hot if they 5, 6 in a row. And what was a 20-point lead is down to 6 or 8. And it's out of 2 minutes. Argentina will now face Switzerland in the quarterfinals. They defeated Colombia. That presents a masterclass. Match ended. Couldn't get it solved in stoppage. Couldn't get it settled in extra time. Switzerland won on PKs 4-3. Yeah. Joe? It was a good. This was a very good game. Hey, I thought Colombia had it right before half. I mean, he got up a holler. That goalkeeper from Switzerland. Hey, there's been some good goalkeeping throughout this whole World Cup. Yeah, man. Absolutely. Colombia had a few chances too in open play, huh? You know, I can't remember number 21's name for Colombia. He had a shot. He had the right towards the end of the game. He skied it. He curved it too much. That could have won the game. This is pretty good. Outside of that, good game. Both teams obviously they had the opportunities on goal. The goalies played extremely well on both sides. Obviously, it came down to PKs. I don't like PKs because you don't know it can go either way. A lot of people, I think a lot of players, it makes them uncomfortable to have to keep PKs as well. As you can tell by some of them that are missing and not confident. You just tell them their body language when they get up there. So, I mean, listen, Switzerland is really good. So when they play Argentina, it's going to be a really good game. Really good game. So I'm excited. Man, man, that dude from Switzerland, he kicked the ball so hard and I said, I could do that.
Politics stuff.
That was close.
But I'm gonna get off.
And he was like, Lord, please let us win this game. Please let us win this game. Oh my goodness. And I think the